Everyone laughed when I said I wanted to become a professional soccer player. They looked at my old shoes, my small field, and my simple life, and they told me I was dreaming too big. They said someone like you will never make it. But what they didn't know was that every time they doubted me, I became more determined. Every failure, every rejection, and every painful moment was building the person I was becoming. Hi everyone, my name is Ethan Miller, and I am 17 years old. This is the story of how a simple dream, a lot of hard work, and never giving up changed my entire life. I grew up in a small town with my family. We didn't have expensive training facilities or the best equipment, but we had something more important: hope and support. Since I was a little kid, soccer was never just a game for me. It was the place where I felt alive. Whenever I had a soccer ball in my feet, I forgot about every problem around me. My father used to take me to a small field near our home. The field was not perfect. The grass was not even, and there were no big crowds watching me. But in my eyes, it was the biggest stadium in the world. Every day I practiced after school. While other kids were relaxing, I was outside improving my skills. I knew that dreams don't come true by only wishing. They come true through hard work. But not everyone understood my passion. When I told people about my dream of becoming a professional soccer player, they smiled and laughed. They told me to choose something easier. They told me that dreams like mine only happen to other people. For a moment, their words made me question myself. I wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe my dream was impossible. But then I remembered something my father always told me. Never let someone else decide what you are capable of achieving. Those words gave me the strength to keep going. I started training harder than ever. Early mornings, long evenings, and countless hours on the field became my new routine. I knew the journey would not be easy, but I was ready to prove that my dream was worth fighting for. Then came the first big test of my life, the soccer team trial that I believed could change everything. I walked onto that field full of confidence, ready to show everyone what I could do. But by the end of the day, I heard the words I never wanted to hear. I wasn't selected. At that moment, it felt like my dream was falling apart. Walking away from that trial was one of the hardest moments of my life. I watched other players celebrate while I stood there quietly, wondering if I was really good enough. For the first time, I felt like maybe all my hard work was not enough. Maybe all those hours of practice would never take me where I wanted to go. When I reached home, my family immediately noticed that something was wrong. They didn't need me to explain everything because they could see the disappointment on my face. I finally said, maybe I'm not meant to become a soccer player. Maybe my dream is too big for me. But my family reminded me of something important. They told me that one rejection does not decide my future. It only shows me where I need to improve. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would not quit because of one bad day. I would come back stronger. The next morning, I woke up earlier than before. While the world was still sleeping, I was already on the field practicing. I trained my weaknesses. I improved my speed. I worked on my control, my passing, and my shooting. I didn't want to just be another player. I wanted to become someone who could not be ignored. Some days were painful. Some days I felt exhausted. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered the dream that started everything. Slowly, things began to change. My skills improved, my confidence returned, and people started noticing the difference. A few months later, I heard about another opportunity. A local soccer academy was holding trials for young players. This time, I wasn't the same person who walked into that first trial. I was stronger. I was more prepared. And most importantly, I believed in myself. When I arrived at the academy, I saw hundreds of talented players. Many of them had better equipment, more experience, and professional training. For a moment, I felt nervous. But then I remembered where I came from. I remembered the small field where my journey began. I stepped onto the field and gave everything I had. I didn't play for people's approval. I played because soccer was my passion. Every pass, every move, and every shot showed the hard work I had put in. At the end of the trial, the coaches gathered everyone together. My heart started beating faster as they announced the selected players. One by one, names were called, and then I heard mine. That moment was unforgettable. After all the doubts, all the rejection, and all the struggles, I finally got another chance. But I didn't know that making the team was only the beginning. The real challenges were still waiting ahead. Joining the academy felt like a dream come true. For years, I had imagined what it would be like to train with talented players and professional coaches. Now, I was finally there, but I quickly realized something important. Getting accepted was the easy part. Staying there would be much harder. The academy was full of incredible players. Many of them had been training professionally for years. They were faster, stronger, and more experienced than me. During my first few weeks, I struggled to keep up. Every training session felt like a challenge. Every mistake made me feel like I didn't belong. There were moments when I questioned myself again. I wondered if the coaches had made a mistake by selecting me. One day during training, I made several mistakes in front of everyone. After practice, I sat alone on the bench, frustrated and disappointed. I looked around and saw other players laughing and talking. Meanwhile, I felt like I was falling behind. That evening, instead of going straight home, I stayed on the field. The sun was setting, and most people had already left. But I kept practicing. Again and again, I worked on the skills that were holding me back. Every mistake became a lesson. Day after day, I followed the same routine. Train with the team, stay late, practice alone, go home tired, wake up and do it all over again. The progress was slow, but it was real. A few months later, something started to change. The skills that once felt impossible became natural. The confidence I had lost slowly returned. Even the coaches began noticing my improvement. For the first time, I felt like I truly belonged there. Then came the announcement that every player had been waiting for. The academy would be participating in one of the biggest youth tournaments in the state. Scouts from major clubs would be there. Coaches would be watching. For many players, this tournament could change their future. The excitement was everywhere. Everyone trained harder than ever. Every player wanted to earn a place in the starting lineup. I worked harder than I ever had before. I knew opportunities like this didn't come often. Weeks later, the coach announced the starting team for the tournament. The entire squad stood silently, waiting for the names. One by one, players were selected. I listened carefully. Then the list ended. My name wasn't on it. This time was different from the first rejection. I wasn't being cut from the academy, but I was being told that I wasn't good enough to start in the biggest tournament of the season. The disappointment hit me hard. I had worked so much. I had sacrificed so much. Yet somehow, it still wasn't enough. For a few days, I struggled to stay positive. But eventually, I made a decision. If I couldn't start the tournament, I would make sure I was ready when my opportunity came. I continued training harder than ever. While some players relaxed after practice, I stayed behind. I knew something many people forget. Sometimes success comes to the people who stay ready when nobody is watching. The tournament finally began. Thousands of fans filled the stands. The atmosphere was unlike anything I had ever experienced. As I sat on the bench watching the game, I felt nervous, excited, and hungry for an opportunity. I had no idea that my chance was much closer than I thought. The second half had just started when everything changed. One of our key players got injured and couldn't continue. The coach looked toward the bench. For a few seconds, it felt like time had stopped. Then I heard my name. My heart started racing. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for. I ran onto the field determined to make every second count. At first, I was nervous. The crowd was loud. The pressure was huge. And every touch of the ball felt important. But after a few minutes, I stopped thinking about the pressure. I focused on the game. I remembered all those mornings when I trained alone. I remembered every rejection, every failure, and every sacrifice. Suddenly, everything felt different. I started playing with confidence. I won challenges, created chances, and helped my teammates move forward. Then, with only a few minutes left, the score was tied. The ball came toward me near the edge of the penalty area. I controlled it, took a quick touch, and saw a small opening. Without hesitation, I took the shot. For a moment, the entire stadium seemed silent. Then the ball hit the back of the net. Goal! The crowd exploded with excitement. My teammates ran toward me. I couldn't believe it. The player who started the tournament on the bench had just scored the winning goal. That goal helped us advance to the next round. For the first time, people who had never noticed me were talking about me. But the biggest challenge was still ahead. As the tournament continued, our team kept winning. Each match became more difficult than the last. The opponents were stronger. The pressure was greater. But our belief kept growing. Eventually, we reached the championship final. It was the biggest game of my life. The stadium was packed. Scouts from professional clubs were watching from the stands. Everyone knew this match could change a player's future. The game was intense from the first whistle. Both teams fought hard. By the final minutes, the score was still tied. Exhaustion was everywhere. Every player was giving everything they had. Then, in the final moments of the game, one of my teammates passed me the ball. I looked up and saw one last opportunity. The defenders rushed toward me. The crowd held its breath. I took one touch, then another, and struck the ball with everything I had. The ball flew past the goalkeeper and into the corner of the net. Goal! The stadium erupted. My teammates celebrated. The fans cheered. The final whistle blew. We were champions. At that moment, all the years of hard work, all the early mornings, all the failures, and all the sacrifices suddenly felt worth it. After the match, one of the professional scouts approached me. He told me that he had been watching my performances throughout the tournament. A few weeks later, I received an offer that I had dreamed about for years. It was the beginning of my professional soccer journey. As I looked back on everything that had happened, I realized something important. The people who laughed at my dream were not the reason I succeeded. The reason I succeeded was that I never stopped believing when things became difficult. Every rejection taught me something. Every failure made me stronger. Every challenge prepared me for the opportunity that eventually arrived. If there is one lesson my journey taught me, it is this. Never let other people decide the size of your dreams. Your beginning does not decide your future. Your failures do not define your destiny. And sometimes, the person everyone doubts today becomes the person everyone admires tomorrow.